What if I told you that the greatest weapon in politics isn't money, power, or propaganda, but something far more insidious? It's the kind of stupidity that doesn't even know it's stupid. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You and we've been complicit in this dance without even realizing it. You see, there's a particular flavor of ignorance that permeates our political landscape, and it's not the kind you'd expect. It's not about lacking intelligence or education. It's about something far more dangerous, the willful abandonment of critical thinking in favor of comfortable narratives. We've become so intoxicated by the illusion of being informed that we've stopped questioning whether we actually understand anything at all. Every day, millions of people scroll through their feeds, nodding along to headlines, sharing outrage, picking sides in debates they haven't truly examined. And here's what nobody wants to admit. Most of us are participating in a system designed to keep us perpetually stupid, and we're doing it voluntarily. Think about the last political argument you witnessed, whether online or in person. Notice how it rarely went anywhere. How both sides seem to be speaking different languages, armed with their own facts, their own realities. This isn't a bug in the system. This is the system. The philosopher Dietrich Bonhoeffer, writing from a Nazi prison, observed something profound about stupidity. He said that stupidity is not primarily an intellectual defect, but a moral one. It's not that people can't think, it's that they've surrendered their capacity for independent thought to a collective force, a movement, an ideology. They've chosen the comfort of belonging over the discomfort of questioning. And here we are, generations later, watching this same pattern play itself out on a global scale. The machinery has just gotten more sophisticated. We're living in what some call the information age, but it's more accurately an age of manufactured consensus. You have access to more information than any human in history, yet somehow you're more confused than ever. You're drowning in data while starving for wisdom. The algorithms know you better than you know yourself. They know exactly what will trigger your anger, validate your biases, and keep you scrolling. They know how to make you feel smart while keeping you fundamentally stupid about the things that actually matter. The ancient Greeks had a word for this kind of ignorance, amathia. It's not just the absence of knowledge, it's the illusion of knowledge. It's thinking you understand something when you don't. And in politics, this is the most dangerous force of all. Because a person who knows they're ignorant might seek wisdom, but a person who thinks they're informed will defend their ignorance with religious fervor. You've seen it, haven't you? The way people cling to their political positions like life rafts in a storm. The way questioning someone's political beliefs feels like attacking their very identity. This is because, for many, politics has stopped being about governance or policy. It's become a substitute religion, a tribal identity, a psychological security blanket. But here's what's even more fascinating. The stupidity that shapes modern politics isn't random. It's cultivated. It's strategic. There are people who understand that a population capable of complex, nuanced thinking is dangerous to certain power structures. So instead, we get simplicity. We get good versus evil. We get heroes and villains. We get emotional manipulation dressed up as political discourse, and we eat it up because honestly it's easier. It's easier to hate the other side than to understand them. It's easier to share a meme than to read a book. It's easier to feel righteous than to admit you might be wrong. Have you ever stopped to consider why political debates rarely change anyone's mind anymore? It's because we're not actually debating ideas. We're performing identity. We're signaling to our tribe that we belong. The content of the argument matters less than the act of arguing itself. You could swap the issues and the same people would take the same positions. Because it's not really about the issues, it's about maintaining the psychological architecture that tells you who you are and where you belong in the world. And this is where the real stupidity begins, when we mistake our political affiliations for our authentic selves. Think about your own life for a moment. How many of your political opinions did you arrive at through genuine independent investigation? How many did you inherit from your family, your social circle, your favorite media personalities? If you're honest with yourself, you'll notice that most of your political worldview was downloaded rather than developed. And that's okay. That's human. But what's not okay is pretending otherwise. What's not okay is defending positions you've never truly examined as if they were sacred truths. If this idea is already resonating with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe to continue this journey, because what we're about to explore will challenge everything you think you know about how your mind works in the political arena. Now, let's go deeper. There's a reason why stupidity in politics feels so personal, so visceral. It's because it touches on something fundamental to human nature, our need to make sense of chaos. The world is complex, frightening, and often incomprehensible. Politics promises us a framework to understand it all. It gives us narratives that explain why things are the way they are. It gives us enemies to blame and heroes to champion. It converts the terrifying randomness of existence into a story we can follow. And stories, no matter how divorced from reality, are deeply comforting. You know this feeling, you've experienced it. That sense of clarity when everything suddenly clicks into place, when all the scattered pieces of the world's chaos align into a coherent narrative. It feels like enlightenment, doesn't it? Like you've finally figured it out. But here's the thing, that feeling of clarity is often the most dangerous moment, because that's when you stop questioning. That's when you become certain. And certainty, in a world as complex as ours, is almost always a form of stupidity. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman spent his career studying how humans make decisions, and what he found should terrify you. He discovered that we don't think rationally, then justify our decisions. We decide emotionally, intuitively, and then construct rational-sounding explanations after the fact. In other words, your political opinions aren't the result of careful analysis. They're the result of gut feelings that your brain then works overtime to justify. You're not thinking your way through politics. You're feeling your way through it, and then telling yourself a story about how logical you are. This explains so much, doesn't it? It explains why facts don't change minds. It explains why the same statistic can be interpreted in completely opposite ways, depending on who's reading it. It explains why everyone thinks they're the rational one, and everyone else is brainwashed. We're all doing the same thing, constructing elaborate intellectual edifices to support conclusions we arrived at emotionally. And the stupidity isn't in having emotions or intuitions. The stupidity is in not recognizing that's what's happening. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The greatest trick that modern political stupidity pulls off is making you believe that you're immune to it. You recognize it in others. You see how people on the other side are clearly deluded, clearly manipulated, clearly not thinking straight. But you're different. You've done the research. You've thought it through. You're on the right side of history. Except here's the uncomfortable truth. Everyone thinks that. Every person, in every political tribe, in every corner of the world, believes they're the enlightened one. They've all done their research. They've all thought it through. They're all certain they're right. And they can't all be right, which means most of them are wrong, which means you're probably wrong too, about something, maybe about many things. The real transformation begins when you can sit with that uncertainty, when you can acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, that your perspective is limited, that your certainties might be illusions. This isn't weakness. This is the beginning of actual wisdom. The ancient philosopher Socrates was called the wisest man in Athens, and you know what his great insight was? I know that I know nothing. Not in a nihilistic way, but in a profoundly liberating way. He understood that admitting ignorance is the first step toward genuine understanding. So what does this mean for you practically? It means developing what psychologists call intellectual humility. It means holding your political beliefs a little more loosely. It means engaging with ideas that make you uncomfortable, not to adopt them, but to understand them. It means recognizing that the person who disagrees with you isn't necessarily stupid or evil. They might just be seeing a different part of the elephant. Remember that old parable. Several blind men touch different parts of an elephant and describe completely different animals. None of them are lying. None of them are stupid. They're all just limited by their perspective. That's all of us in the political arena. We're all touching different parts of the elephant and insisting we understand the whole animal. But there exists a secret still deeper than this, one that few have the courage to acknowledge. Here's the revelation that changes everything. The stupidity that shapes modern politics isn't a problem to be solved. It's a feature, not a bug. It's built into the very structure of how humans form groups, create identities, and navigate complex social environments. You can't eliminate it, but you can become aware of it. You can catch yourself in the act. You can notice when you're being stupid, when you're defending a position just because it's your team's position, when you're dismissing an idea because it comes from the wrong source. The real battle isn't out there in the political arena. It's in here, in your own mind. It's the battle between the part of you that wants certainty, simplicity, and tribal belonging, and the part of you that wants truth, complexity, and intellectual honesty. And here's the hardest part. You're going to lose that battle most of the time. You're going to fall back into stupidity again and again, because you're human, and humans are tribal creatures who rely on heuristics and emotional reasoning to navigate the world. But every time you catch yourself, every time you pause and question your own certainties, you're creating a small pocket of clarity in a world drowning in manufactured stupidity. The political landscape isn't going to change until enough individuals change. And that change doesn't come from picking the right ideology or supporting the right party. It comes from developing the courage to question everything, especially the things you're most certain about. It comes from recognizing that the most dangerous person in a democracy isn't the person with the wrong ideas. It's the person who's certain they have the right ones. So here's your challenge. And it's harder than any political action you could take. For the next week, every time you encounter a political opinion you disagree with, instead of immediately dismissing it, ask yourself, what would I have to believe about the world for this position to make sense? Not whether you agree with it, but whether you can understand the worldview that produces it. This one practice, this one shift in perspective, will do more to combat political stupidity than any vote, any protest, any argument ever could. Because it starts with you. It starts with your willingness to acknowledge your own limitations, your own biases, your own participation in the collective stupidity that shapes our world. The truth is, we're all stupid sometimes. We all get swept up in narratives that feel true, but aren't. We all defend positions we haven't fully examined. We all participate in the theater of certainty while drowning in confusion. But the first step toward wisdom is admitting this, not as a defeat, but as a liberation. Because once you stop pretending you have all the answers, you can finally start asking the right questions. And in a world shaped by stupidity, the ability to ask good questions might be the most radical act of all. If this message resonated with you, if it challenged something in you that needed challenging, then do something revolutionary. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Like this video. Subscribe to this journey, because the antidote to collective stupidity isn't more certainty. It's more humility, more curiosity, and more willingness to admit we're all just trying to figure this out together. The world doesn't need more people who are certain they're right. It needs more people who are brave enough to admit they might be wrong. Start with yourself. Start today. That's how real change begins.